France's foreign minister will travel to Iraq today to discuss trials for ISIS fighters from Syria. European countries are trying to fast-track a plan to move thousands of foreign Islamic State militants out of Syrian prison camps and into Iraq. Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian will spearhead talks with the Iraqi government to try and create a legal framework to oversee the trials. Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Euronews' international correspondent, Annelise Borges. Morning, Annelise. The French foreign minister does seem to be sort of leading the European effort to try and work out what to do with these nationals who joined ISIS and now are stuck in Syria.
Indeed. Good morning, Rosie. European countries are set to have negotiated this and have started negotiating this with the Iraqi authorities since June. That is according to France's Prime Minister. So this initiative to transfer these European nationals from Syria to Iraq has reportedly been ongoing for quite some time now, according to France's Prime Minister. At the same time, they were also reportedly negotiating with Kurdish officials in order to create an international tribunal in northeastern Syria. What is clear is that France and other European countries do not want the return of these fighters and their families. But a plan to try European nationals in Iraq would not come without hurdles. For one, European countries are signatories, for the most part, are signatories of a wide range of international accords that ban torture and the death penalty, tools widely used in Iraq when it comes to these cases, the cases of ISIS fighters. Iraq is reportedly also asking for millions of dollars to try these fighters. None of this, of course, is being talked about at this stage. For now, this is a very young idea, at least in the public view. The number one priority right now is to try and limit the some 2,000 fighters who are currently in prisons all around northeastern Syria from avoiding these fighters from escaping these prisons, regrouping and rejoining the battlefield, or even worse, escaping these prisons and returning to Europe, where they could potentially represent a security threat.
What's the scale of this problem for Europe, and particularly for European leaders, and what are the alternative options available to them?
Well, at this stage, Europe has very little alternative options. We used to talk about the potential for an international tribunal in northeastern Syria, which has now become a battlefield. So the only two options are repatriating these nationals or trying them in Iraq. Europe, again, does not want to see these fighters come back beyond a public backlash. Authorities also fear the potential for them to carry out attacks on European soils. But what is interesting is that several countries have already started outsourcing the problem to Iraq. For months now, we've heard reports that German, but also Belgium and French nationals were being sentenced to death by Baghdad's anti-terror court. For now, Baghdad has already tried more than 500 foreign ISIS fighters, sentenced them to death, but none of those sentences have been carried out. Baghdad seems to be wanting to use this as leverage to negotiate a wide range of privileges. What is interesting now is that France and other EU states have for a while been saying that the best option was to try these fighters and their families locally, obviously because of the difficulty as well to try and collect evidence against them, to try them in Europe. Jean-Yves Le Drian seems committed to this idea. Once again, on Tuesday, he was talking about the potential for trying these fighters locally and saying, including their families, they were no tourists. For example, the French women who went to this region back in 2015 knew exactly what they were doing. They're fighters against France and must face trial in Iraq if possible.
Annelise Borges, our international correspondent, thanks for speaking to us.